Very good morning. Uh, Today we are going into Angular. So how do we deal with Angular? We started this Angular a day back. We started with how to install the Angular. So how many people have installed the Angular? Can you just raise your hand just to see whether the count is increasing or we are in the same count? So raise your hand in case if you have installed Angular and ready. We have around 30 people now. Out of 30, how many are installed? Don't lower your hand, keep it raised so that I'll just want to have a count of it. Only one. Only one installed Angular. Is that right? Or my understanding is wrong? There are so many people are there. Hmm. Participate in questions so that I understand. See, for me, the depth at which I need to take the class, everything depends on your participation. If participation is less, the depth will also will be less. If participation is high, depth also will be high. So there are several ways we can take a class. If it is online classroom session, physical classroom session, then it is different because we know the face reading and we know how people are interested or not interested, etc. But when comes to online, we expect a little bit of participation from all of you by raising hands or by putting the questions, right? We need some participation somewhere because 10% of the people, if you say raise your hand, our understanding is different. If 20% of the people raise the hand, then the understanding for us will be different. So because we are not able to see your face and read out what you are trying to convey or not to convey. Certain things are critical when it comes to online session. It is not the count. It is all about the participation. So I leave it at that. Now I share my screen. Please confirm. We have a target to take, so we keep taking the session. But if you have not understood anything from the session, what is the fun in taking the session? Let me. So all this participation is important. That participation through raising hands or raising questions. In that way, we all sure that you are taking interest in learning. That is the best way to for us to get motivated one. And also, is my screen visible or not visible? I'll again share. I think it is showing us not shared. Yeah. Please confirm whether you are able to see the screen.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. Thank you. So now I'm moving on to FSDev. FSDev is nothing but full stack development. Uh, the first HTML that we created. I've also already started the service using. I went to into the directory. I used ngserve. ngserve is actually publisher as well. So it will publish as it opens the server, it publishes to the server. So it is now in the, I think HTTP module, some HTTP module is what is using to serve. It is not a production candidate, it's only a development candidate. And I can access that site using HTTP localhost at 4200 is the port. Using this, I can access the site. I'm accessing the site. Yesterday, I have given some exercises on changing the content or changing the what do you call CSS, and then try to understand how it changes. Yesterday, I didn't purposefully say one thing. This position attribute. Have you? What are all the position attributes you have noticed? Can somebody answer it? What are all the different position you have seen, and what is the difference you have seen? Can somebody answer that in the question answer? What is that you have noticed? Absolute is okay, that is position absolute. What is the other things that you have seen underneath position, underneath position candidate? So what is that you have observed by changing that? Have you observed anything? Right? This is the curiosity I want you all to develop. If you want to be a real full stack developer, I want you to create a curiosity on knowing this position absolute, display flex. If I change the display to inline block or block, what will happen? Right? If I change the position to relative, what will happen? Right? Whether this position, what is the dependency of right, top, left, right for position, right? For this position, is there any relationship on this? If a position is absolute, top, left, right has a meaning. If position is relative, relative is another available option. So relative, when I give it relative, that means this top, left, right doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't take impact. It does. It will get ignored. So the position is relative is the default setting. The default is relative. They call it as inherit. So if I want all the options, if I put it like this, you will know. Absolute, fixed, relative, static, sticky. I can give a position in calculation as well. That means I can give a calculated position. From this position you come in that way. So absolute means it will take this top. Top zero means zero margin. Left means right, left margin, right margin. That means left margin is zero. That means it is full width. I am giving the position full width. Absolute means top zero. Whereas if I give relative, relative, you can see the difference when I give relative and I remove this. There is one more. I just squeeze the style, made it to position. We have added one title, right? Top 50 pixel title. See this difference on this title with reference to position. Just see this difference. I just save it. Automatically code gets compiled here. You can see that code is compiling. I'm moving back to developer local host. I'm going to a new browser, local host. You can see the my position. I made it as relative. So my div is from this top position, it is 50 pixel down. Whereas if I make it absolute, I make that as absolute. Just see the position of that compiled. Page is rendered again. You see this. That means from top it is 50. It is not relative. From top, because this is absolute, this guy he considered the top position as this is ignored. This candidate is ignored because whether you move the site or you don't move the site, it is always intact, right? So that is the difference of position. So you have to be you. These are all the finer points. Somebody teaching cannot help you. Your learning is the one which will make you this all this understanding clear, right? So somewhere we use top, somewhere we use margin, somewhere we use padding. So difference between margin, padding, all that difference you need to understand clearly. These are all basics actually. So all this you need to understand. Okay, so I leave it at that. Well, I will not disturb this app.component. I will create one more component. I can create it underneath app. I can create a component, or I can create one new folder and then create a component. It is up to me to decide. Easiest way is ng generate component. That is one command you have, ng generate component. It will automatically create the component underneath src folder. Either I can do it from this, I came out of this, ng generate component, the spelling I'm not sure, a component, I just say my app, just say put my app, ng generate or g, both are fine, right? And then component my app, I just created it, I ng serve for executing it. This is for component creation. This is the easiest way to can create a component. Automatically he creates the CSS file, TS file, HTML file. I go back to that folder now. Now you can see here, my app is a component created underneath app, and app module. He has added that component automatically because I can access that component from this point. So this concept of what this app module is, I come to that little later. This is too early for me to describe all this. So what each one is, when to use it, all that will come later. So my app is a component, it is available now. So what is this my app? And by default, you can notice here app ts app root. In that HTML, I call this app root. That is the reason I'm enabling this app component.html, right? If I go here, some basic structure has got created. If I go to TS, basic structure already got created. This is your basic structure. So we are going with this. We are going to start with this understanding. So app, my app is my component name. If I try to give app, my app underneath my index.html, just see what happens. I'll comment this line and then I'll recreate a second line, right? Just see what happens. It is very simple, but you need to, so it is successfully done. I try to refresh it. Nothing has got displayed. Nothing has got displayed. If I want to see if any error is there or not, console log will help you in understanding that error. App root did not match any elements. So that is the, because that is the root level. So that you cannot change. So this kind of failure, all this also you need to practice. So app root is what is expected, that app root is not there. So because of that, he is not able to do anything. So app root is expected. So that is expected. That is why you get here the selector app root did not match anything. That means I have given here app component because this is getting loaded. This is where the app root is. So this is getting loaded by default, right? App component and then my app component. So this is one of the another important thing that we need to understand. So I created a component, but I am not able to access the component directly because by default app root is getting executed and app root is in turn calling the component called HTML and that HTML is being called. So that this is the app root index HTML. So even though you have called here this, but this is not recognized. This is not yet recognized. How to solve this? All that will come to that as we go. First is bringing some HTML content, etc., so that we understand it clearly. So what I'm going to do is this. In Angular, the most important thing is one is this HTML, another is this component.ts. These two are the most important components. HTML automatically bound to app.component.ts. That means this and this are already closely bound. That means it is binding is already done. So I don't have to specifically say HTML that you have to contact app.component.ts. He knows that he will only connect to TS file. So this is called, we call it as a code behind. This is within your browser. This particular data is within your browser. That means the whatever you see it underneath app, these are all part of your browser data. As you access, that will get downloaded or that will get loaded upfront. Right? That is very important to understand. HTML and .tsy. Spec is for different purpose. I'll come to that later. This is for testing purpose, unit testing. So, but we'll not touch that now. So CSS, instead of style sheet, whatever you have given, you can give it as part of the TSS as well. If that CSS is exclusive for this HTML. If the CSS is exclusive for this HTML, we can give it at the underneath CSS. For global, you are not, it is not advisable to give it under this CSS. For time being, we go with the local CSS. For time being, we'll go with .html local. For time being, we'll go with app component.ts file. These three files we'll touch upon before we move to the other components and other things. That there are, component is one of the entity. You can create injectors, you can create directives, you can create multiple components. Name of the component is generally used for this, but you can create injectors, you can create uh, services, we can create what you call services. Mostly we use services is for connecting to the external world through Angular browser to external world. We use services, injectable services actually, right? So those things we'll see as we go. Any questions here as of now? Please let me know. Any questions here? Please get it clarified. If you have any questions then and there in the initial stage, later I don't mind, because later things will get easily understood because you understood the basics. So the basics are very important. Right now, please note, we have enabled the routing and we go with routing only in our examples. We'll go with routing only. When I run my app using ngserve command, my browser does not show any content on it. But once the ngserve is commit, please check for any error that you have got like this. Any error that you have got, you just check. So it should say recompiling, nothing changed. That means it monitors the changes and it ensures that everything works. So that he takes care of it. So there are like platform browser, MJS, all, there are so many aspects to this entire thing which initiates the application, right? If that is nothing is there, if you put localhost at 400, it should work. So you can see now it is working, right? Just localhost colon 4200, that data is also available underneath http colon localhost 400. He clearly tells which port, which URL you need to open. He clearly tells that, right? So, okay. Yesterday we talked about multiple things. One is how we create a button. Lot of components we have seen in the under Angular material component. We have seen lot of things underneath this URL, right? Badge bottom. Let us take first button, form data. Like that, we start with that. Then we'll go inside one by one. Let us try to develop a login page, for example, or let us develop a registration page. So something which we generally use, right? So create something so that we understand how we integrate each one. So it is like first is registration page. For registration page, you want to develop a login page. For login page, we need to, of course, access the DB, etc. But first, let us create a login page. From that login page, we have a sign up button. So that sign up button will take you to the registration page. So once you register, then sign up has to work. That is login has to work. Let us just take this as an example and try to do it. And you can develop in the way you feel appropriate. Login page, there are several ways a login page can be designed. There are several applications. The Facebook is having a different type of a login. Flipkart is having a different type of a login, right? We can have a different concepts in logins, right? You can design the page in the way you like. Those are all your individual thinking capabilities and individual what do you call artistic world, whichever world you are in, that is the one. When I do it, I'll do it very simple. Just make two boxes, one is for login, one is for password. I'll just make in that way. So let me go here. I'll try to do it under the app component itself for time being before I move on to this. So instead what I do is this old HTML, I copy this HTML and paste it, right? I just keep that copy there. I remove all the content from here. That means no CSS, nothing now. So now I just put div in app component page. I just want to make sure this change is effective. I just put app component div. That's all. I want to go back, come here in app component page. That means it is working. You can see the font. All this are default now. I have a toolbar which will tell you font finder. This is my what do you call? No tool. Yeah, it is not like that. Somehow that font finder is not working. Font finder is for finding out which font, how it has got rendered, etc. I will easily know from here, but unfortunately this is not giving an access. So font finder has access to this, right? But it should show, but unfortunately that's why when we need it will not work. So that is okay. So the app component, if I right click, inspect element, this is what it is shown. So display block, this is how that entire block is. It's a div block display. So this 14ng app component, because I am in this page, app component page, I don't know exactly the font size here. That is why I have that page, but I don't know exactly because I have not set the font anywhere. What is the default font or anything? I have not set it. So this is the in-app component page. What I will do is go to this page. In this page, I'll just give a style. Yes, style, inline, right? Font, size, colon, give some value. I say large. There is a large. I use that large. Just see the difference. It is large, right? This is what he says, large. So I want to give 20 pixel. Font size 20 pixel. You can see once it is loaded, this is 20 pixel. So that is acceptable. So whatever I change here, it is coming. That means this HTML is active. Then this component, I'll come to this component. Let me do something here. I just want to know. I'm now trying to bind this, whatever the data I'm giving here, I want to bind it here. So title is here. Title is given as component S4 class. Title FSDev. Title is there. Okay, and then I want to use this title in my HTML. Then it is called within curly braces. If I put that variable here, title, within curly braces, if I put that title here, now I am integrating two things. One is this app component and HTML. I'm just integrating. Div, same, but app component, I have a variable title. This title is hard coded with the value fsdev, and that fsdev, I'm using it under curly braces title to start curly braces and to end curly braces. If I go back to the browser, you can see fsdev. You can see fsdev. I want that to be in the center. Then there is called align equal center. See, please note here, I'm not taking care of HTML or body, header. I don't touch anything because that is all part of the HTML, main HTML. In main HTML, whatever I'm doing it underneath this app root. Underneath this app root, whatever I'm putting it here in this component, right, that is going into that app root level. So align center, I put it like this. See what happens. You can see now fsdev has come in the dev position, right? So that is also possible. So the whatever I given in this component, I am able to bring it there. So here I can write any of the JavaScript. So I put now random character. So let let is not required. A equal to I'll just take say A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O. Some character I have put, right? I want to now take a random character and then I want to display it there. So B equal to say what do you call substring. I have a substring. I want to take random 3 characters. Random 3 characters I want to take math dot random into 10 math dot field. Field is upper boundary. Lower is lower boundary. Random generates unique decimal number into 10. That means one decimal. I'm using seal because the seal is consolidates. That means it just floor is there, seal is there. Upper. If I have a fraction 0.5, it will go to 1. If I have a fraction 0.2, that also will go to 1. If I have a fraction 0.9, it will go to 1. That is seal. Floor means lower. Anything that is lower. So random is random number. It generates some decimal digits and some n digit decimal it will create. Into 10, I create one decimal point. That means I want one character. That is the starting number. So within 0 and 10, this will create. So I have 3, 3, 3, 6, 6 plus 3, 9, 9 plus 3, 12, 12 plus 3, 15 I have. So now I call my variable as ran string equals, so substring of a dot substring of a of substring of b starting point. How much of length? 3 characters is the length. I just wanted this dot b. Because it is under the class, I will explain the class as we go. Since I am inside the class, a is a variable, b is the variable internal to the class. That's why this has to be used to identify that I am relating this a, right? So relating to that a, I just add this control Fs, saved it. This random string, I want to bind it to my HTML as h1. h1, sorry, h1. I want to bind it. Binding is done through curly braces, random string. Copy paste preferably, because sometimes capital is all case sensitive. Everything is a case sensitive. So random string. Just we are making sure you understood that binding between a HTML and the component TS effectively. So I made that random string under component.h, that I am rendering it over there. After that, what I do is, there is another function called set timeout. Set timeout, say, of course you cannot put it underneath this, because it will not allow you to set timeout. I just say random string equals this dot a dot substring this dot b comma. Random string is not allowed outside world, so that is why it is not coming. I have to create a function on init. Okay, I'll come to that little later. Let us just finish up this. So fs def, it has come up with def. Next time if I refresh, F5, control F5, refresh. You can see that it is changing, right? It is keeps changing. So the length is the random number I have given, starting with this dot b, end with 3 characters. So it is keeps changing the position, substring, start number, end number. So this also I can give it as b. So the another one I can create another one. So I want to print it console log b. Console log also doesn't work from here. All these are requiring constructor, because it is under class. We are underneath class, so it will not directly take the data. That is called constructor. I need to push everything under constructor. We'll come to that as we go. So random string, we just applied the random string. It is able to, you can able to see that the values are printing, and that value is changing on this def, etc. This value is changing, right? 3 or 4 or what? Now this is how the relation between the app component and HTML component. Anything that is coming from app, the variables, that variables are directly accessible underneath h1. That is directly accessible. Second, I want to now create a button. How do I create a button? Simple, we call it as button. So always take the help of things. So here we call it as mat button. I want to treat this as a material button, not ordinary button. So my button, I call it as my button. One more I'll create without any mat button icon. Without any mat button icon, I create one more button. Mat raised button. Okay, so please take a help of button. These are all different buttons available. These are all mat button, mat raised button. I use this now, right? I've used the how it will look like. Mat button is, this is the basic. This is how it will look like, right? Another is without anything. This is material function. This is without a material. So I use this. Let us see how it looks like. So button. So it is a raised button. This is a normal button. This is mat raised button. So mat raised button. This is normal button. See, you can see both are coming on the same line because the button that you see as a syntax here, button as a syntax, if you come back, so matte button, basic, matte button, color primary. If I give this color, then it becomes primary. I just give it here, color primary. Just see what happens. You can see it in the, sorry, FSW. It doesn't have any impact. Why? What is the problem? Primary I have not set, is it? It is set. It should have been got set. Just a second. I will just check whether it is loaded or not loaded. It is not loaded. Style sheet. Angular.json. Angular browser. Environment production. Angular karma. Nothing got loaded. So it should get loaded automatically. I created this with what settings? Okay. No, so this is also not yet set. FSDev. Okay. I'll. It is not yet set because the primary color is the theme. The theme that I need to use, I have not set it anywhere. I think the theme is I've selected as a CSS. I think so. I'll just create one more project for our understanding purpose. So I'll create one more project with the theme because then we'll take automatically the effect of what they call material view. So what I'll do is cd or make directory. I'll create a directory. I create a directory here, upskill. I create a one more directory here, new folder. I'll say fsdev with theme. I'll just put it as fsdev with the theme. cd fsdev with the theme. cd that ng new. I'll enter. So I think it will ask for a CSS somewhere. What name would use the initial project? fsdev theme. Okay, would you like Angular rating? I'll just say no for this. CSS syntax. Oh, CSS only. Yes, CSS syntax. Okay. No, it has created automatically. Angular material. Okay. Angular material theme is not yet got added to this. Okay. I've added Angular material. Have I added? Oh, I've created a CLI. I created a project, but I have not added Angular material to this project. That is another problem. I need to add an Angular material to this project. That is what the sample that we have seen before. Add Angular material. I will add that Angular material to this project. I have not yet added Angular material. Angular material, get started. So I'll add Angular material to this project. After you create a project, add Angular material. ng add Angular material. This will take you to certain themes. And this command is not available when running an Angular CLI outside the workspace. What it means. This command is not available. I am inside the workspace only. ng add a CLI Angular project by running the following command. Animations install ng add install is fine. Add dependencies, add Roboto font to your Angular HTML, Angular design index.html, all that will get added. But unfortunately, I'm not able to include information prerequisite. Angular add is done. Okay, cd dev with theme, right? Put this there in Google, will come to know this. What is the problem? Angular CLI. And also I need to check on version. Early Angular when I try to do ng2, right click on the VS Code, open integrated open ng navigate, client tab, this is not available. Angular JSON, npm, finally run npm install ng build that will return. Check the Angular because the JSON defines source root. The last is Angular JSON build, which should locate the project root directory. What is the problem? fsdev, I'll just put it to fsdev, cd fsdev, npm ng material. fsdev is adding that. So it will ask for a package material 13 because it matches to my Angular version that is there. Will be installed and executed. Yes, proceed. This will ask for the theme, material theme. Installing packages. Installing. Now it is asking for a theme. I go with Indigo Pink or Indigo Amber. I use this theme. Angular micro typography, yes. Global typography. Animations, yes. Updating the package.json. So because it requires that npm install where Angular things are required. So now fsdev is set with thing. Now you can see the same project ngserve if I do. ngserve if I do the same project. We are not changing the project now. We are into the same project. The new one, the theme one, we just installed. We have not initialized anything. Whereas ngserve will initialize the entire project. It builds this whatever missing components, everything it will build for making it ready. That was missing in the fsdev with theme because we just created as a dummy project. Now your project is enabled with Angular material. Now you can see the difference here on the HTML page. On this HTML page, we can see the difference. I'll just cut this. I'll go back. fsdev, app component HTML, button, raised button, primary. Now I'll just check the Angular JSON. Amber, you can see style sheet got added. Style.cls has got added. This is added underneath build options. It has got added. Build option underneath amber.css got added. My styles dot that is also got added. So both got added. That means it will become effective. Angular material becomes effective. So it is installed now. I'll just go back here. Mat raised button. Let me just go back to that Angular material button. Angular components. Component. I'll go to the button class. So I'll just take this, copy. So I just take this, copy this. Only one line item. One line item. I just copy this. Maybe some spelling mistake somewhere. I'll put the copy here. Let us see how it works. Component, saved it. It should work. Primary, but it is not working still. So still it is not taking the references. Why? Why it is not taking the references? We'll continue this tomorrow. It is rise button is there, but theme is not taking the theme. So typography is loaded, but it is all left unattended. Mat rise button. I am not seeing the mat component here. That class itself is not yet loaded. I'll just check that. Tomorrow we'll continue on this. So tomorrow onwards we'll continue with more and more components and ensure that the component understanding is clear. Then we get into the integration of, say, one sign up form. We'll try to make one sign up form with a registration page. We'll do that as we go. Okay. So I'll stop at this point. Today again continue on the practice towards the CSS, like position change I have asked for, absolute with relative, right? Top, whether it works or not working. You continue with that. So we'll continue here tomorrow with this. Any questions, please let me know. npm init, yes, npm install is nothing but npm install is different, npm init is different. npm init is for initializing the project, correct? We generally do it for node.js, this one. Angular requires ngserve or something like that. Okay, fine. Thank you. We stop at this point.